Hello and welcome to the third installment of the Mysteries of Pandaria custom Hearthstone set. Today we're going to be looking at Druid. In this expansion, Druid meets Zuin, the third August Celestial. We also get to experience some of the trials and tribulations of the Yaungol tribe as they make their dauntless trek to a new home. The Yaungol have made several necessary sacrifices to help their fellow Yaungol survive. The key word for this set is Channel. Channel is an end of turn effect that first checks your current available mana, and then if you have the required amount, gain the described effect. So maybe warm up the hearth, defrost some turnips, and prepare for some hearty company to arrive. In this set, the Yaungol are moving in, and they've had a long journey. And with this expansion, Druids will learn about the start of a new dragon cycle, they'll meet a new legendary explorer, and learn just how good a turnip truly can be. But with all that being said, let's go ahead and move into our first card, Zuin, the Spirit of Strength. Zuin, the Spirit of Strength, is a 3-mana 2/2 legendary beast with, when this is summoned, copy all other minions' boosts. Death Rattle, ascend Mount Everest. Mount Everest is a 3-mana 2 durability location with give a minion +2/+2. Death Rattle, summon Zuin. Okay, so Zuin's got a pretty interesting effect. The way I'm understanding it is if you gave another minion the Mark of the Wild buff, when Zuin came into play, she would get the +2/+3 and taunt. And I'm assuming that doesn't mean like Silverback Patriarch was on play. You wouldn't just get taunt because it has taunt, because that wasn't a given buff. Notably, it also doesn't say all friendly buffs, it just says all buffs. And when you look over at Mount Everest, it's got 2 durability, so you use the first turn you can with Zuin. That's 1, down turn 2, back up 3. That's only 3 turns without Zuin, and when it comes back, it's going to have at least a 2/2. That's going to bring us to our next card, Between Homes, a 4-mana frost spell that reads give your minions +3/+3. They can't attack heroes this turn. So overall, a pretty powerful buff, but they're going to have to sit there and do nothing, or I guess trade into the board. But if you think about it, a Druid's going to be able to make use of all the stats period, especially with Zuin floating behind it. So if you have a full board and Mountain Everest sitting out there, you play this for 4 mana, gives +18/+18, and then you use Zuin's Mountain Everest ability to summon Zuin. That's +20/+20, a 22/22 for 3 mana. I'm pretty sure that's good value for the stats period. On an interesting side note, this is the first frost spell coming to Druid, which could potentially lead into some sort of new archetype. Who knows? I'm just curious if that can't attack heroes side effect is too much. But up next we have Yaungol Dead Talker. Yaungol Dead Talker is a 4-mana 3/3 minion with Battle Cry. Summon a 3/3 copy of a friendly minion that died this game. I could see this pairing up real nicely with Free Spirit or Groovy Cat, as well as maybe Aerosolizer sees some play after the rotation. Potentially another Zuin. Maybe you get creative and pair this up with Plague Spreader or Thunderbringer, who knows. Baseline, this would be a 4-mana 6/6. Gives you 2 bodies to potentially share the buffs with Zuin. I do know that within this set there are several cards that will synergize with Yaungol Dead Talker. This could be incredibly strong if it pulls a Titan, but Blizzard's really cooking something with this one. The Yaungol truly do sacrifice for their own. But up next we have the Yaungol Firekeeper. The Yaungol Firekeeper is a 2-mana 2/2 minion with Death Rattle. Give your other minions +1/+1 and rush. Like I mentioned with Dead Talker, this is one of those minions that could come back and continue giving you buffs with that Death Rattle benefit. But it truly does take the sacrificial aspect of the Yaungol and the buffing aspect as well and sticks it together into one pretty seamless card. I do like the idea of the Yaungol providing wide buffs, especially if they come at sacrificial costs such as trading this minion in, thus setting up future potential benefit with Zuin, future bigger boards. I like the idea of this. He ignites a fire in the other Yaungol and gets them going with Rush. I could definitely see this being a staple in a Yaungol style deck. And up next we have the Yaungol Captain. The Yaungol Captain is a 6-mana 5/8 minion with taunt, and when this takes damage, give adjacent minions +2 health. So the captain sacrifices his health to power up his allies and make sure that they can survive the long, treacherous journey ahead of them. This minion could provide a hard counter to many of those random ping style effects, especially common in Warlock or Mage. Could be a very solid answer to some of the rush mechanics you find in Death Knight or Demon Hunter. But the Yaungol Captain is a solid piece to round out the Yaungol package. Up next we have Frozen Supplies. Frozen Supplies is a 2-mana frost spell with choose one, discover a Druid card, or add 3 random unplayable Druid cards to your hand. So I like the idea that you got a chance of discovering a card that you could use right now, or if you've tapped out and you got 2 mana left, you get 3 random cards for your next turn. Flavor kind of being, I can take one thing now and warm it up and use it, or take 3 things and use them later once they've gone out. And my understanding of what they mean by unplayable is that you just don't have the mana when you play this card. So if you play it with 5 open mana and you've got 3 left over, you won't discover anything that costs 3 or less. It'll all be 4 or higher. And if you were to play this on turn 10, you'd have 8 mana left over. You'd only discover 9 or 10 cost cards. So that's pretty powerful if you happen to need 9 or 10 cost cards. And that brings us to the last card in the Yaungol package, an Ancestral Inheritance. Ancestral Inheritance is a 2-mana spell that reads, choose one, give your minions +1 attack, or +2 health and a random bonus effect. Option A gives you just your typical attack buff that you want. Option B gives you survivability and potentially Wind Fury or Stealth, or maybe that taunt you really need. Which brings us to our next card, Isadora the Explorer. Isadora the Explorer is a 4-mana 4/5 legendary minion with, after a friendly minion attacks, discover a card of the same cost. It costs 1 less. Isadora picks up all sorts of new tricks and ideas from her fellow travel companions as she explores the wonders of Pandaria. Isadora could possibly help you find those answers you need to get out of a tricky situation. Or maybe you stack your deck with minions that help you find a particular card you want more copies of. A rather powerful effect. If you have a board of 3 or 4 minions, that's going to be 3 or 4 discovers right there. Pair that up with maybe the Wind Fury you get from the Ancestral Inheritance, and all of a sudden you're swinging for all sorts of discover effects. Or maybe Isadora comes down after the Flamekeeper sacrifices himself, and now you've got a bunch of minions swinging on the same turn Isadora comes down. But Isadora looks like an exciting card. Up next we have the Jade Cloud Serpent. Jade Cloud Serpent is the first of 5 dragons. Each of these dragons are going to have a little hatchling that comes from their death rattle. And the Jade Cloud Serpent is a 6-mana 6/4 dragon with Rush and Death Rattle. Summon a 2/1 Jade Serpent hatchling with Rush. The Jade Serpent hatchling is a 2-mana 2/1 dragon with Rush, and it has, at the end of your opponent's turn, transform into a Jade Cloud Serpent. And if your opponent doesn't clear the hatchling, the Cloud Serpent comes back at the end of their turn, so it doesn't have the summoning sickness that it would normally have. My understanding is that each of the Cloud Serpents will have a hatchling with a corresponding effect. And for Druid, that's Rush. Up next, we have the Pink Turnip. And the Pink Turnip is a 1-mana, 1 durability location that reads, discover a 1-cost spell, upgrades each turn. So, you play this on turn 1, you can discover a 1-cost spell right then and there. Play this on turn 1, wait a few turns, and now on turn 5 you're pulling a Nourish. Or discovering a potential Nourish. Or maybe on turn 7. Or maybe you pulled up on turn 7, you still don't have your Drum Circle and you need something. But all that TLC you poured into your Pink Turnip is gonna get you that spell you wanted. The turnip could even help you narrow in on specific cost spells. Like right now, there's only 3/4 cost spells in Standard. One of those spells being Between Homes. Or at 5 mana you have Nourish. All in all, I feel like this is a pretty good endorsement for you to eat your veggies. That's going to wrap it up for Druids in the Mysteries of Pandaria set. I sure do appreciate you sticking around to the end. If you got the time to spend with me even further, I've got Demon Hunter and Death Knight already completed. Go give them a check. Check back soon because we'll have Hunter's Reveal coming out next.